Ladies and gentlemen, another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show about to start. Grab your chelas, your drink, your tea, your water, your champagne. If you still celebrating France's win,
Champagne.
yeah, it's classy
Really?
here at the Mexican Soccer Show. Let's go ahead and get started. Hola a todos. Welcome to another edition. This is an hour-long podcast dedicated to all things Mexican Soccer Show. Thank you for joining us on this day after the World Cup. Many people very depressed. Many people are a little looking for something else. The football is over, and 4.5 years waiting since apparently now the World Cup is going to be to us in the Northern Hemisphere in the winter. A lot of people complaining about that. Let's go ahead and jump in with a question. Say hello to our cast for today. And the question from our producer, Amy, who is with us here at the Mexican Soccer Show, has said, overall favorite memory of the FIFA World Cup 2018. I was obviously this one. And we'll start with Mr. Cesar in the San Diego, covers Xolos and everything around the border there in Tijuana. Amigo, favorite FIFA moment of the World Cup?
So I've got two. Okay. My first one is the Iranian player who failed to do the flip throw-in against Spain.
He jumped in and he's like, oh, okay.
Like that was his big moment to shine, and he just completely failed. But on a more serious note, it has to be Mexico's win over Germany. I mean, I don't care if it was Osorio who was in charge. I don't care if it was Biojo who was in charge, or any other coach who was in charge there. I mean, just that result was nothing short of incredible. It's one that will stay with me forever as a Mexico fan. I don't know if you could tell that I'm a Mexico fan with my knockoff jersey and whatever else is going on back there. But yeah, that's just one that's going to stay with me forever. And just, I don't know, just what an incredible way to start the tournament. Obviously, the tournament ended up like every other tournament that has ever existed since I've been born. But nonetheless, that was really exciting to see Mexico get that win over Germany.
All right. That throw was ridiculous. It was
yes.
Hilarious. Yeah. It's almost as bad as how, who was it that it hit himself with the ball in the head?
Oh, Batshuayi?
That was my memory. I was going to say that was my memory. That was the best GIF ever.
Adriana there in Mexico City. Okay, so took your moment.
Yeah, that has to be one of them, definitely. That was like, I'm going to shine and show how people, like, how I can, like, kick a ball to the net and boom, it just, like, I don't know, it was crazy. It was Belgium, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Batshuayi who did that, yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was just, and you know how the TV station would keep repeating it like over and over again, like slow motion. And in case you missed it from the other angle, here it is. And that was a great moment.
The cool thing about it is that he was really cool about it too. He was like replying afterwards and actually sharing the GIF, and it was hilarious. So you had to make fun of it.
Yeah, for a moment though, it seemed like I'm just gonna go this way and make pretend like nobody saw this, like thousands of people around the world just seeing the game, and no, nothing happened. I'm gonna go celebrate with these guys. Yeah, that was definitely one of the best, at least the funniest moments. I'm a sucker for Iceland. I love the Iceland story, so I really loved it when they had the draw against Argentina. That was just a great game, and I like it when like newer teams get it to the World Cup. I loved Panama. I loved Peru going back after so many years. But I specifically liked Iceland. So that specific game was awesome.
All right. For me, obviously, in Mexico, when you said it, Cesar, I mean, being in the stadium there, counting down the clock at 88th minute, and you're like, is this going to happen again? I've been here before, please. And obviously, we were able to pull that off. I think it's the greatest win for Mexico in a World Cup.
Yeah.
I think, that's definitely the World Cup moment. Aside from that, I really like I know there's obviously in the news and everything, but I really like the Russian team and the story that they had during the World Cup. I think that was I was really pulling for them. And it was mostly because when I was there in Russia, I felt like the Russian people really needed that. With everything that's going on in their country, they were just so hospitable towards everybody that was there, especially Latinos. Where are you from? They would give us free stuff, free gifts, souvenirs, just out of their own, goodness of making sure that we were okay at times where where we were in trouble at, in the middle of the night and we couldn't get into our hotel. Somebody walking by called the hotel in Russian and stayed with us until somebody opened the door. Like, it was just so great. And I think because of that, I just have this this great feel for the people in Russia, and I felt like the Russian team did that towards them. Maybe they lost, but they lost against a great Croatian team that went to the final. They went to penalty kicks. They took down some teams that were not expected. So I think that would be my World Cup, is the host country. And even though we hear all the time, host countries kind of make it far. We saw Korea in 2002, obviously Mexico in 86, France won it all in 98. But you see Russian team who doesn't have that great of a league, whose players aren't in the best leagues, and able for them to make it that far, good for them. So I'll stick with that as my FIFA World Cup. And then obviously all the other funny moments that we had there. All right, as far as, let's see, any other responses? And you know what? Does anybody have the responses from the when that question was? I think obviously people are talking about the Mexican win over over Germany. It was on Father's Day, so if anything, you're on Father's Day. I think
that's right. Yeah.
All those happy Mexican dads in the U.S. and Mexico.
Yeah.
Anyone have the bug that Hugo Lloris almost ate?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
World Cup memory.
Yeah. That's right. The bug that we had that.
It was like a grasshopper. It was like the king of grasshoppers. I don't know. It was terrible.
The grasshopper king.
Yeah, exactly.
Jorge Matt Davila said, me crying during the national anthem versus Germany and screaming my throat out at Chucky. Cesar Estrada, the obvious answer, of course, will be beating Germany on Father's Day, but looking at it differently. Us getting beat by Brazil, he says, putting things in perspective hopefully for a federation. He says, we're not that good yet. Changes need to be made, and I hope that was an eye-opener.
Sarah Hernandez on the chat says, Neymar memes.
Neymar memes are hilarious. Did anybody, I'm going to ask this, did anybody feel a little bit bad after they lost? Like maybe the next day? Like just a little bit.
For Brazil?
No, for Neymar.
For Brazil?
No, not at all.
You know what? I was all on top of the Neymar memes, and I kept going. And even during the Brazil game, Neymar's not making time. Then when they lost, and then the next day people kept going, I felt just a little bad. Like,
no, dude,
I know.
Feeling bad for Brazil of all teams.
Not Brazil, not Brazil. Like I just felt bad for. Okay, we did it. Like the memes worked. It really got to his head. I really do believe in that game. He didn't spend a single minute on the ground. The ref didn't care if he was diving. Like I think the world did justice by social media helped. Neymar,
I think he knew that nothing would happen. He would be like, I'm really hurt this time, guys, please. And they were like, no, not going to believe it.
I think it really did work on him, though. Like, all of the world knew that Neymar was diving, and, there goes...
Yeah.
That's what Neymar is right now to the world, and that's pretty bad. But
he brought that upon himself.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel no pity. So.
I know, and I feel like because of the time that we're in, right? I mean, we've known people that has been diving. I mean, and if social media was in the years of the World Cup, they would have crucified everybody. But it's like Neymar now is like the essence of diving from the Xolos, halftime show to kids all over the place doing the Neymar. It's like, I don't know. I
the new ice bucket challenge.
Yeah, it's true. I felt a little bad for him, even though I was so angry, and I'm just like, it's so, so I don't know. Maybe that's just me being a nice guy.
All publicity is good publicity? I guess maybe not with Neymar. I don't know.
I don't know. Somebody posed a question of Mbappe going into, the PSG and going, Neymar, sorry, buddy. I'm the star. Sorry. Give me. All right, guys. Well, lots of you obviously on here watching with us. The World Cup is over. I didn't think, during the World Cup, I think I took it for granted. And until maybe last night, I go, it really is over. Like, I was actually upset. And I didn't think it was going to get to that point. I'm like, it's, whatever. It's fine.
I just hope you didn't watch the Campeón de Campeones like me or the Super Copa MX. Because, I wasn't even I wasn't ready for that. And I was like, all right, I should watch this because of work, just see how Tigres are doing, how Santos are doing, how Monterrey are doing, how Necaxa. And it was
you regretted it instantly.
Yeah, I want those like hours back from my life. Like I'm excited for the new Liga MX season. I'm really excited for the Liga MX season. But to go from like hanging out, there was like 10,000 people who showed up at this like it's somewhere in San Diego to watch the World Cup final. I'm like, this is so great. And then like to go back home by myself to watch some like game that maybe like 7,000 people showed up to in LA. That was a little boring. But anywho, yeah. No.
I wish it were like a different week because I want to miss like the league a little bit longer. It's not like it's 4 days difference. We have games on Friday, so I'd like to miss it just a little bit, just like to appreciate it a bit more. We're still having like the World Cup hangover. We're still like thinking all the things that happened.
Yeah.
When they did the rundown, I don't know if you were watching Telemundo or Fox, and I don't know if Fox did it because I was watching Telemundo, but they did like all the thank you, all the people that worked in the World Cup, and they did like maybe a video or like 3 minutes of all the World Cup and the goals. Mm-hmm. And it's like my heart just kind of went, we beat Germany. And it was like, for some reason, I forgot what happened. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we beat North Korea. I think we're going to get first place. Like you kind of go through that. And then it's like,
we lost to Sweden.
Yeah, we lost.
Is it like when you rewatch a movie and you know what's going to happen, but you still hope that the good thing happens? You're like, no, wait, we lose to Sweden when? And then like,
I don't think I felt that way, you know, ever since I was a little kid on things that I'm like, all right, maybe the ending is going to be different. But you kind of just go, dang, if we could have only beaten Sweden. you
rewatch Titanic. You're like, what's that iceberg doing there? Like, I don't remember this. Come on.
Yeah, like Jack, hold on. You fell in the door, dude. Really? Yeah, you do flop it.
They did a test on that. So you go back to the World Cup. A couple of things coming out of the World Cup. Mexico, 12th place. In the 32, right? A standing, which that's kind of like, it's obviously, I think it goes because we only lost. No, I was trying to figure out why we were 12th in the others. But for example, Argentina was right below us. But I think it's because of the first 6 points that we got in the group stages. So it goes by wins. We were able to get 2 wins and 2 losses and then goals that were scored. 12th, is that accurate to say that's where we're at?
I would say that's fair.
Yeah, that's probably fair. It's 2 places down from 4 years ago, though. Not cool.
Yeah, I mean, there
was 10th.
Yep.
I would say that the big question, and I don't know if it's time to get into it just yet, but I think, and I talked about this on the pod with Tom last week, but for me, after the 2014 World Cup, the big what if for me was, what if Carlos Vela was there? And then we saw that the game against the Netherlands, immediately afterwards, he scored twice against Mexico. We ended up beating the Netherlands 3-2 in the same year in the Netherlands. We're just like, what if Carlos Vela is there? For me, the what if now that's going to stick with me until the winter of 2022 is, what if we would have beat Sweden? What if we would have got a draw against Sweden? Not even a win. What if we would have gotten a draw against Sweden? Exactly, because a lot, and I feel like we're not alone. This obviously we're biased. I'm clearly biased when it comes to Altri. I felt like Mexico could have made a deep run, perhaps, maybe even, I'm tempted to say even to the semifinal stage, but I feel like I've seen other people say that too. I
think this is where we got to come down to. You need a little bit of luck in the World Cup to make it far. I'm not saying that, any team can make it. But if you look at what Croatia did, and I know everyone's comparing Croatia to Mexico, and that's just like the thing to do right before the final, and they lost. But look at the teams that Croatia faced, and if you put that in Mexico, yeah, they got they beat Argentina, and they had Nigeria. They had the worst team in the World Cup, which was Iceland in their group. Then, it was Denmark. Then it was Russia, and they're in the semifinal. And I feel like if Mexico had that same type of draw plus the same, I think we would have been, we could have made it to the semifinal. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I would feel comfortable saying it. And I think that's where you kind of go, you need a little bit of luck. Look at where England got to the semifinal, and look who they faced. Colombia that didn't have James, still Colombia. I'm not saying that, but Jamesless Colombia isn't the same. Mm-hmm. They lost in their group. They got second out of their group. Belgium, they lost to Belgium again. I mean, and Mexico could have been in the semifinals. So I think you kind of start seeing that you need a little bit of luck, like Germany did to get to the final in 2002, Uruguay in 2010. Getting third place by playing, not that great of teams until the semifinal. And it's like you wonder, when is Mexico going to get that break? Because while I was talking to Tom earlier today, Mr. Tom Marshall, who's in England right now. And we were kind of discussing that if Toni Kroos would have made that goal, we would have already been in. Mexico would have rested some players, right? And it could have been a totally different a different draw and a different outcome on it. But again, we go to the what if, Cesar. What if Mexico could have beaten Sweden? And then you look at Sweden game. It's like it was a weird first goal. Then the PK. Then it was just kind of over. It's like we're Mexico by that.
Mexico did play poorly, and I think as much as I defend Osorio deserves some of the blame. The players deserve some of the blame. That it wasn't as if Mexico was unlucky in the Sweden game. They
played poorly. It was a poor game.
Did you guys see the first half?
Sweden was the better side.
And maybe because I was in the game, but I remember even tweeting at the first time. I'm like, does Sweden want to do anything? Because it looks like they're playing for the tie, and that.
I think it's
like, okay, cool, we'll take it.
That was their game. That was their game plan throughout the entire tournament. We saw how far they went. That's just their style of play. That's what helped them qualify for the World Cup. That's what helped them make it as far as they did. So it wasn't just against Mexico. It was something that has worked for them for the entire tournament, and why they're able to surprise, because a lot of people going into the tournament were thinking that Sweden was probably going to barely miss out on the knockout round. They thought that Mexico was going to be the superior side over them. It was going to be Mexico and Germany going through, but no, credit to Sweden for doing what they're doing, because
and some people in the chat, we saw Croatia won their group, they created their own luck, Mexico did not. That's just fact. Sure, you could, it's they created their own luck, but at the same time, I can honestly say if we were in the group stages, Argentina, Iceland, and Nigeria, we played great during the group stages. I think we would have gotten out of there, and we could have gotten first in the group. But again, it's all these what ifs, and it's normally how the World Cup kind of goes for everybody.
By the way, Osorio finished his contract yesterday, so let's see how that goes. I don't know, continuity, maybe Almeida, I don't know. But technically, the Mexican national team doesn't have a coach right now, so let's see what news comes up the following days.
It should. There was a report that obviously said that the Federation is wanting JCO to stay, right? Is looking to see another 4 years. Do you guys think that JCO is kind of waiting to see what happens with other national teams?
Of course. Why wouldn't he wait? Even though, as much as we criticize him, I think outside of North America, I guess you could say, I think people are now intrigued by the idea of Osorio. I think perhaps some clubs in Europe, perhaps some clubs abroad who might not have thought twice about him, but who now look at his resume, might think that he's an interesting figure. Maybe after seeing what he did against Germany and how Mexico, they did play an attractive style of play, that maybe they're thinking like, Osorio might be someone who is worth giving a try. No matter what we say, I think that his reputation has grown in the world soccer scene, but I don't know. I think he's taking his time to figure out his different options. But at the same time, I imagine something like the U.S. men's national team is probably extremely enticing to him.
I don't know. I think that's where I don't know. I just don't see Osorio going to the U.S. As far as national team, he took Mexico. Why take the U.S.?
Because it's an exciting project. Because they're trying to build from like.
But I think that's
they're trying to build from the bottom down.
Thing.
I think that's what I honestly think that's like, okay, well, why not stay in Mexico and continue a project instead of taking the U.S.? I think there's a lot of money into it. Going to Europe for JCO, teams already have their coaches. Like, there are not that many European teams looking for coaches, so I don't see him making that move there. I believe he's looking, the only real but I guess the only real consideration is the Colombia team, and we'll see what's happening with Peckerman. We saw Sampaoli now, not with the national team, with Argentina. I know Peckerman was kind of, from looking at media in Argentina, looking for that Argentina job, so that could switch up Peckerman to Argentina. Osorio might be looking at that Colombia, because a lot of Colombian press is also saying that that's there. That's how I can see maybe Osorio leaving. I don't see Osorio going to the U.S. I don't think there's an option for him in Europe yet. I actually see him, if he doesn't go to Colombia, he stays till Mexico, and until he's done with the Mexican team, and then leaves over to that Colombia spot.
I actually think he has to consider some non-football issues. The thing with the parties and the players and what fans think of him and all those stories that came out in like magazines and paparazzi kind of things. Sadly, I think that might have some weight in his decision as well. Yeah. Because it's something that coaches just don't want to face. They're like, I'm here to work. I'm here to coach a team. I'm here to lead a project. But if I'm going to be facing that just might not be attractive anymore. So sadly, I think that might have a little weight on it.
It's not even a Osorio thing. I just think any national team manager for the Mexican national team, just like within the last, 20, 30 years, like, it's a really stressful job. I'm not even sure if I would want that, to be perfectly honest, unless it would give me some like serious money. Not that I would be
They
qualified.
got a ton of money, dude. They get a ton of money, bro.
No, but like, but I imagine the U.S. there would be less pressure. The U.S. men's national there would be a significant like, there'd be a significant difference between what the pressure he would deal with in the United States and the pressure that he's dealing with in Mexico.
Yeah, even the press is different. I think like here the press takes a different role than in the U.S. and it's something that some coaches I'm pretty sure they don't want because they know they're going to be constantly be questioned and stuff. So
where in the national team status of a high-profile team do you not have crazy press? Spain, Argentina, England. All have crazy press.
Not as crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
No, I think
I'm pretty sure it would be not as crazy in the U.S. I'm pretty sure.
No, I'll give you a U.S. I'll give you the U.S.
Yeah. But here's
profile. If you look at Argentina and the press, Spain too, with the paparazzi, and even England, those types of jobs, it's like that everywhere on high profile.
Yeah, but look at how well Spain is doing. Look at how well. I mean, not the World Cup. Obviously, Spain got knocked out in the round of 16. But I meant in general though. Like how well like a Spain does, how well. I mean, England look at the current World Cup. I think there's more opportunity for success there than with.
But I don't think he's gonna go. Well, I don't like people talking about my personal life, so I'm not gonna go.
That's a factor. Places. That's a factor, though. I think that's a factor.
Not to a professional that's been through that. I get what you guys are saying on that point, but if he's thinking I ought to want to be attacked and it's such a profile job, get ready for that's what the national team in countries like that is going to happen.
But he's admitted earlier this year that there have been offers. It's not like he doesn't have offers. Yeah. He has admitted that there are offers, and I think we've talked about it beforehand, but he declined that contract extension earlier this year. He could have easily accepted that before the World Cup, but I think he declined it probably because there are viable options. Yeah.
I'll make a prediction. I think Osorio stays unless it's for Colombia. Other than that, I think I don't think he wants the U.S. job. He already did Mexico. If he's gonna go, I don't think we'll make a lateral move for him in being nice. But I think it's not a lateral move. But and then continue to see what I think what he does in Mexico, and we'll see. And I think we're going to be waiting a while. I don't think it's going to come out. Why? What's the rush? And I think that's also what Don De Luisa said too. It's like, well, we'll figure out what's happening.
This is when I wish the Mexican Federation were like Spain. It was like, no, we're having problems. Lopetegui out, Hierro in. Yeah, let's just go. And here it's going to be like weeks of expectation.
Wait, the whole
all the rumors and
Isn't that how like Mexico's always reacted? That we don't want just coaching changes after coach changes. Like, if it was up to you guys, wouldn't you want to see what Osorio can do in 4 years? Are you ready? Are you done? Are you done with Osorio now?
I don't know.
Adriana says she's done.
Yeah, he had 3 years. It's close enough.
It all.
Adriana, who is it? Almeida?
I don't know. I really don't know.
It all depends on the replacement.
Almeida's kind of getting like farther away from the Mexican national team somehow. But I think that it's not only Osorio wanting to stay, but I think it's also the federation thinking how much expectation he can like grow around the team. It wasn't like Miguel Herrera's team that you were really excited about. I saw lots of people, they're like, okay, yeah, we beat Germany, and not that same excitement like 4 years ago. And that translates into money. That means people going to the stadiums. That means people buying jerseys, and that's important in the long run. So I actually think they need a coach that creates all that like hype around the team, and Osorio doesn't do that. So yeah, I think he might be done because of that.
And I think it all depends on who his replacement would be. I think I would be, if for some odd reason it did end up working out, I'd be okay with Almeida. I wouldn't be unhappy about that if that were to somehow work out.
What is it? Almeida's had 3 teams in his whole life.
No. But I think when you look, I think right now there needs to be a generational change. I think the current World Cup, you have a lot of aging players, and as much as I like a lot of those aging players, we need to transition past that because all those aging players will be far too old by the time the next World Cup rolls around. So I think with someone like Almeida, that's someone who has proven to have a connection to young Mexican players. He obviously did that through Chivas. I mean, honestly, that's why I kind of like Diego Alonso as well, but he's now coaching Rayados, so I think that's not up for grabs anymore. So maybe because that strong connection he has to youth Mexican talent, obviously that with Chivas he had that trust of the players, and I think that's pretty important in this generational change. That's why I think Almeida would be a decent option.
Guys, I just think if you're going back to the players, I have not seen a generation of players that has liked the coach this much like these guys. Like when you interview them, he's like, this guy's a genius.
I'm not
He doesn't
about.
think he's a good coach.
They like Miguel Herrera pretty much. I think it wasn't as
most of
they kind of had to come out and defend Osorio, which is why I think we have this like
But
idea
you
that
wouldn't say that
they love
they're a
him.
genius. No way that they'd be like, yeah, Piojo's a genius on it.
But-
like they
No.
actually believe when you
But
talk
they
to
were-
these players.
But
that
who's calling
Yeah, but
Piojo
he-
genius to begin with?
But the thing is, it's
relationships with his friends at on the World Cup. We know that
Yeah,
that's a
but
bad part of Piojo.
But you also have a coach. Like I don't know how many permissions he gave to all the players because they wanted to be absent for a game. They wanted to leave early, like I don't know, some of the practices. I don't know. I don't want that. I want a coach that you can talk to, but you respect, not particularly love.
I'm
starting to see that some of the players are gonna. If Osorio leaves, they're done with the Mexican national team.
I mean,
I would be okay with that. I think it is time for a generational change. It's worrisome because I don't actually see that many players coming in, and that's just something that has happened with Mexican football in general. It doesn't have to do with Osorio, with Herrera, with anybody, but it's just something that hasn't worked with the Mexican national team. You don't see that transition going softly. It has to be like right now we're starting the new World Cup, like planning for the 2022 World Cup, and we just have to bring in these new players and have to make them face all these challenges because it's something that we've missed as a league as well. So I think that it's the best time to do it. Just get a new coach, new generation of players. You have to keep some, obviously, but you just have to think of new talent.
Well, and I mean, didn't Juan Carlos Osorio do that? I mean, Edson. I mean, he does have some of the young players that are coming through. Chucky Lozano. I mean,
anyway. I mean, any coach would have called them up.
Any coach would have called up Edson Alvarez and
Chucky. Yeah.
Chucky. Yeah. Well, we'll give you obviously Chucky.
I guess my bigger. I mean,
Edson depends.
To be honest, my bigger worry isn't whether Osorio is staying or not. Because if he were to stay, fine. That's I'm okay with that. I like Osorio. I think he's a good coach. Just my bigger worry is that generational change. I just want to see those young players.
I think he'll do fine with generational change.
Like once again, it's those young players. I want to see those young players being incorporated into the Mexican national team. And I think I had a conversation with Tom a week or two ago, and his worry, and something that stood out in my mind, what he said was that like he's worried that this transition is going to take a lot longer than expected. That maybe someone like a Guardado is going to continue to be a starter, whether we like it or not, maybe until he's 33, potentially even 34. That someone like Herrera, he's a little bit younger, so maybe he'll continue to be there. But like when you look at the striker position,
Herrera's got another 4 years.
Yeah, but like look at the striker position.
No,
like,
yeah, totally.
Who's going to step up? Look at this. I guess the center backs. I mean, you have Cesar Montes, but Cesar Montes really going to be starting.
He would have been called up by now, maybe.
Yeah, so I do agree that like as much as I'm excited about the new generation, I really think there's a lot of hope there. It was interesting to hear Tom say that, like, and I do agree with that a little bit, that maybe this generational change is going to take a little bit longer than we really wanted.
The league is incorporating the 2011 rule again, so hopefully that'll bring some change to the Mexican national team, like in the senior level, because we do pretty well in the U20 level. The U17 is doing pretty okay. Something happens from like the U20 to the to the senior level. Maybe sometimes the U23 does well because of the gold medal in the London 2012 Olympics. But just it's something wrong with Mexican soccer that they just can't make it the switch from a youth level team to the senior level team.
Yeah. Well, we don't play them; they don't get minutes, and then we give them a lot of money to just play. Like,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, why would you go to Europe? You're just happy here. You're being paid well, a nice car.
I think that's the conversation that we have where everyone's got this. This is how this is how we make a World Cup team. And everyone's got all these great, advice for all the federations is start with the youth, give them minutes and all of that, and it all comes down to you judge by every 4 years, and we have one bad game like Sweden, and it's like
it ruins everything.
I guess here's a conversation. What if what if Osorio changed things up, and then he got the draw against Sweden, and then Mexico somehow made it to semifinals? Like, what's the conversation we'd be having right now? I'd be like, yes, the golden generation pulled through.
There would be no conversation.
In the same way that if we make the quinto partido, I would stop and go, okay, guys, we don't have the best team in the world yet. Like, it's like that's what stinks about it. And maybe it's because I'm getting older. It's like we judge it all by the World Cup. It's so emotional.
And there's nothing more important, to
be
know, honest.
Exactly. That's what sucks about being a soccer fan. On the internet, like that's what stinks about it. Is now you have to wait 4.5 years. And you know what? It's gonna happen when we don't get out of the group. Like, and it's over. It's like, then you have to wait another 4 years, because if you look at, somebody said, if we beat Croatia 4 years ago, and look what Croatia went, and Martin del Palacio, who had an amazing tweet, said, "What out of Croatia could we have copied? Their corruption, it's like their coaching changes that they just hired him 6 years ago. Like there's in this like perfect way that we should have a federation does everything right. Croatia's not it. They just had great players in the great leagues, and I think that's what it comes down to. It more players playing in better leagues, and there we go. At least that's a start. But again, that's not going to assure you're going to get out. Look at Spain, look at Argentina, look at Brazil, look at even if you have the best players playing in the best leagues. Again, compare Brazil to Croatia. Player for player, I would think that Brazil has a better, talent pool, and they still didn't make it to the semifinals. So,
well, the thing is that most teams, like most bigger teams, the ones that we aspire to somehow beat sometimes, like Germany, whenever they have a really terrible World Cup, like Germany did in 2006, they were the hosts, and they had the entire change in the federation. They were champions 8 years later. So we just don't do that. Apparently, we have to miss a World Cup to actually wake up and say, "Hey, we have to do some things different."
I mean, we've talked about that before.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to do that.
No,
I don't want to do that either. But we have no choice.
I'll do it.
That is not a choice. Like, why don't we actually grow while going to the World Cup and doing it? Obviously, you guys don't remember 1990. I remember 1990. Watching your team not in the World Cup is the worst feeling in the world. I'm telling you.
I was too. I had different priorities at that age. So.
Going out from 86 and I'm older and going into and then seeing that generation of Hugo Sanchez and going into 1990 going, this is it. And then Cachirules a year before, like, you just kind of go like,
I don't know. I'd be willing to sacrifice Mexico not going to the 2022 World Cup if that meant that we could somehow restructure everything and like 2026 and 2030.
And it doesn't assure us anything. That's the thing.
I'd be willing to do that.
Anything.
I don't know. I feel like I'd be willing if we could somehow if for some odd reason we don't qualify for 2022, and then Liga MX is like, wow, you know what? Let's do away with the Pacto Caballeros. Let's do away with this. Completely do away with the draft.
In that case, let's just have amazing superstars being born like 15 years ago.
No. But I mean, if we just
you asking for Liga MX not to have Pacto de Caballeros?
No.
Having a Ronaldo in the Mexican League.
But if we somehow completely revamped everything, I mean, it's missing the World Cup's a big deal. If we somehow completely revamped everything, yeah, I'd be willing to miss out the 2022 World Cup.
So it's kind of like you sign it. You go, all right, we missed one World Cup, but we make it to the semifinals in the next. Would you do it? Of course, everybody would say yes. But would you miss the World Cup? And who knows what can happen? I don't want to do that.
But if we know that Mexican soccer,
you can't do worse. I mean, worse would just be going to the group stage because let's.
Oh no, you can miss it again. Oh, and
no. Let's face it. It's we're not going to miss again. Are terrible. We already had our scare 4 years ago, so that's not going to happen again.
We're not going to miss.
Thankfully for CONCACAF, we're still going to make it through, and then now it's a 48 team World Cup, so I'm pretty sure we're going to make it through eternally.
And we're
eternally.
So the only worst thing that could happen was that we would stay at the group stage. So yeah, I take that for let's just miss 2022 and then hope for 2026.
I'm sorry,
or 2030. I don't know.
I don't want to miss 2022.
I don't want to either. This is not the point of wanting. This is the thing that would force all the league people to actually make a change. All the coaches, all the players,
in the same way that we would have made it. It's the same way that we would have made it to the semifinal. It's like we couldn't have said thank you, JCO is a genius. We couldn't say that because, again, unless we beat Brazil 4-0. We already beat Germany. We beat Brazil. Then the next team was Belgium. We beat Belgium. It's like then you can finally go, oh my gosh, something has changed. This is the golden generation. It went through all the. It's like we come down to it, but that's why the World Cup is there. I keep seeing even American journals and just kind of saying, why isn't the U.S. there? And this is what we need to do. And I think everybody's just going, what do we need to do in order to do what France did and win the World Cup? And at the same time, I think as far as we know, France, the team is the best team in the World Cup.
Yeah. Who's our Mbappe? Who's our next Mbappe? Is it Linus? Is it?
19 years old? Yeah, it'd have to be Linus. But
19 years old.
Pressure, Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is 19. I think.
Yeah.
He actually just turned 19. Yeah.
Linus, I thought he was still 17.
I was talking about Mbappe.
Oh, okay. No, I was making a joke. Who is the next?
I think Linus just turned. I think 18. It was. I think he's. Yeah.
No one, by the way, just disclaimer: no one is comparing Linus to Mbappe, so don't.
Oh.
We're just saying, like,
we're just saying who
who is that old? Yeah,
there's an Mbappe anywhere else in the world right now. I mean, the only other teenager to score in a World Cup final is Pelé and Mbappe. Give it up for the French team putting on a sombrero, though, and
oh man, that's like
shout out to Vela.
Shout out to Vela.
I laughed about that, and then everyone was like writing articles about it, and like I was like, and then after that, I was like, oh man, is this what we've come to? Like a dude. A dude wears a sombrero. We're just like, yes, Mexico, waving the flag.
Cool.
Like, oh,
it's a pretty cool story.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's cool, but like they went
crazy for it.
Yeah,
that was Mexico in the World Cup. Yay!
Yeah, let's do it.
It's so funny because we were watching the World Cup and we had like a little party at my house and everyone was watching and then the spray for the 10 feet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, Mexico made it to the World Cup. It started in Liga MX. And they're like, what, it did? And then I started lying to people. Oh, yeah. The chemicals that are made, they're made in Mexico. And, now it's
exclusively.
And it's
something comes out of agave or something.
Yeah. And they're like, really? So they went home out of the party. Like, I'm sure they're like, next time, you know that spray?
It's made of agave.
It's made out of agave. Ladies and gentlemen, we have fun here at the Mexican Soccer Show. Thank you for choosing us to spend some time, especially if you're watching right now. I'd like to obviously thank all of you guys. Don't watch the show live. We ran through some numbers, and over 1,000 of you guys watching on iTunes delayed. So
listen,
if you're watching, listen on iTunes, and if you do that, thank you very much. Obviously, there's now a ton of different people that you can be listening to on the Mexican about Mexican game in English, which is great. I think we all applaud that. Liga MX is growing from different podcasts to a lot more journalists coming out to people in the World Cup. All of a sudden, having podcasts and and talking about Mexico. The more the merrier. We're still continuing to do it since way before 2010, since the Mexican Soccer Show started. So we want to thank you all, especially those that are spend some time with us here live and put up with us on here on the chat. So that was our little plug to saying thank you. Are we ready to say goodbye to the World Cup? I mean, I feel we can have just a whole show on the World Cup, but I know something else is happening, at least coming up on Friday.
It is?
Yeah, or at least are we? So is this it? Is this like the last time we'll be talking about the World Cup, or can we just have like a 10-minute World Cup moment every Mexican Soccer Show?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do that. Today's Mexican Soccer Show, we're going to talk about what kind of bug went into Yoris and Cesar's actual, species and origin of this bug. Next up, Luis Suarez and how he didn't bite anybody. Oh man, I don't want to let go. It was fun. 4.5 years.
It was fun.
I just wasn't. It was just so terrible yesterday to be writing about. I mean, I'm excited about the Liga MX season once again.
You're not excited.
No, actually, I genuinely am because I miss going down to like the games at Tijuana and like chatting with the players and whatnot. But like yesterday, while I was like after the high of like watch the World Cup final and then like writing about like what Lobel's Bop are going to look like next season, I was just like, what am I doing with my life right now? Just like,
where would you rank this World Cup? Like in the ones that we actually seen, like maybe 90, maybe 94 to now. Where would this rank?
I mean, I would say it's number one. I have a really small. I mean, we all have a small.
I think everybody's going like that. This was the best World Cup. We said that in 2014. This is the best World Cup.
Yeah, but all of us like how many World Cups have we all seen? Like, I mean, there are like 60, 70-year-old people have seen some incredible World Cups. We all have like a small sample size to work with. So yeah, this was the most entertaining World Cup that I've seen.
Yeah, I think it's.
I think so too. I think so.
Yeah, maybe South Africa was pretty cool, right? I like South Africa.
You know what? I think I would look at that 2010 and obviously Mexico's performance, but even though we all got the same, I felt. I
think that hasn't changed.
I think 2014 is better than 2010, but this World Cup was a lot better. And again, maybe it's because we miss it so much that we're hyping it up, and the next World Cup is going to be the best.
I know Korea and Japan weren't probably the best one. I really didn't like that. I didn't like the schedule. I didn't like the refereeing. I didn't like the result. I think that was the worst one probably. I
Isn't that the best?
Don't remember it as much, but I think France 98 was better than 22, like 2002.
We should maybe have some kind of poll. Yeah. For those of you that are watching since 19. I don't know. I really can't pick. Somebody asked me that coming back. Obviously, I was at their Russia, and then 4 years ago I was in Brazil, and they're like, okay, well, which one was better? And I couldn't answer because I had an amazing time in Brazil. Just the people, the World Cup, the way it is. That's such a soccer country, and everybody there. And then Russia too. It was like the people and everything. So I kind of go, I can't pick what's the best. I would say the Russia because I was just there. But when I look back at my pictures and videos from 4.5 years ago, 4 years ago, I go, that was an amazing time too. So it's hard. But
yeah, I think it might be like a top 3, maybe.
I know a lot of people are saying that this is one of the best World Cups.
Yeah.
Could that be also social media was partly involved? I mean, everybody was on their phone that I could think of just looking at, what was next,
maybe then, therefore, that's what actually does help it out.
Yeah.
I mean,
you see like a lot more games, and you're more connected. You see all the tweets,
it looks
players tweeting out.
Yeah,
so
feels
you're just connected to everything.
It feels like that's everywhere now. I mean, if you look at, and I don't want to bring anything about politics, but you look at politics, people are like, there hasn't been, this crazy of politics lately. I think it's because our own consumption of things, and then the way that we talk about it on social media, it's everywhere. So you're going to consume a lot more. I mean, in 2002, you turned off the World Cup, maybe a couple commercials, and that was it. You're not talking about it 24/7 until the next game. And I think maybe that's why you're feeling that it's a lot more. But I did feel like there was a lot more penalty kicks. I felt like the big teams didn't make it, and you actually could pull for any team winning at any time.
I love that. I love the underdogs. So that makes an even better World Cup for me. I just love that.
12 own goals.
Panama, Panama scoring that goal, and
yeah, they were celebrating. They had won their own World Cup. That was amazing. It was beautiful.
And at one point I go, why are you doing that, dude? And then you kind of just step back and go, this is their first World Cup. This is their first goal in the World Cup. This is a player that's going to go down and saying, I scored in a World Cup. And this is a country that's looking at this and saying, hey, we scored in a World Cup. And you kind of just
finally here. Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of just missed that. Costa Rica didn't want to be the only team not to score a goal. When
last game.
Was it Watson? Scored, and he went crazy, even though they meant nothing. For him finally saying, and us in Costa Rica friends have said, oh, thank God he scored, because we would have been last, because it was the only team that didn't score a goal, and it was him. Like, those stories you miss when you just go how big the World Cup is to other people, and here we are, we kind of just go, so I don't want to let go.
I don't want to let go.
So anywho, Lobos WAP.
Question. I was seeing that there wasn't really the mascot. It was just something that some students did. Is that true? Adriana, you're closer.
Yeah, that was just like something some students did, and somehow it got messed up, and we all got freaked out. We were like, oh my God, it's even worse than Michael Jackson's Thriller, like werewolf thing going on.
So it is official. That's not the actual mascot. Some students just
they want kids to go to the stadium. They see that thing, and they're going to like run away and have nightmares.
Yeah, because there's never anything like official from the club.
Everyone just ran with it, right?
It was just tweets, and then everyone was just like, "Oh, it was presented at the team, so that means therefore it is like officially their mascot." But yeah, I never saw anything official.
It was a national trending topic. That is how scared people were.
Here's some great stories. Miguel from Scar Tissue 19 says one of his favorite moments from the World Cup is hugging my grandma as soon as the whistle blew for the Germany game, and I put in here.
Nice.
So awesome. I think did anybody watch the World Cup alone? I think this is everybody was coming through, even though it was 6 o'clock in the morning. You would still be like, hey, for those of you that are watching it, so it brings everybody together. We're not ready to let go.
I prefer to watch it alone though when it's Mexico games, to be honest.
I was back for the Brazil game, and they're like, hey, we're gonna have this great meetup. I'm like, nope, I'll see you later. I'll be by myself. I think I could have watched, like, if we would have beaten Brazil, I think the next game I would have liked to watch with people. It's like, hey, we made it to the 5th game.
No, dude, I gotta watch alone for those games. I don't know. I can't deal with like. It was funny. We actually had like a friend who was visiting, like who was like crashing at my spot. Who was staying for like a few days, who he didn't know anything about soccer, and he was there watching the Brazil versus Mexico game with me, and it was such a bizarre kind of like experience. I was like, and he knew that I had to like write about it, and I like had work to do, but it was just so strange to like be watching a soccer game, like that round of 16 game against Brazil, like the most important game in the last 4 years for me, and like some friend who just doesn't care about soccer just asking like random questions. Like,
I went to my mom, and my mom exaggerates everything. Like there's a corner kick. Oh my God, a corner kick. Mom, calm down. And whenever and then Brazil scored, she like came up to me, it's gonna be okay, mijo, and then I wasn't really even that upset. Like I wasn't mad. Like I was like this, I even tweeted, it is what it is. After the second goal, I stopped watching after the second goal. I went in and I went into my room, and she goes in, tick, tick. Are you okay? Do you still want some food?
Do you want a hug?
It's okay. It's okay. And anyway,
I had to work like for half of them, and then the other half I was with family. And for some weird reason, my parents don't watch sports, except now they do, because otherwise they have nothing to talk to me about. So they were like, "So these guys are Germany, right? Oh, so these guys are the current world champions? Yes. Oh, okay, we got it. Okay, so these guys are actually pretty good. Yes, they're pretty good." And then my dad comes up with something like, "Maybe we should have them score. That way it would be like a more intense game." I was like, "No, no, no, my God, just keep it that way."
Oh, lovely. Yeah, let's make more intense. Have Germany score.
Yeah.
All right, so we must move on. It's already almost, we only have like 15 more minutes. Really quick, Liga MX Femenil started over the weekend, a week before. And I know that there's obviously not a ton of talk on it. And I know as far as all of us will be doing a little more, especially a job to giving you a little more news on Liga MX Femenil. I mean, it was a record attendance for the final. There's a lot of things that are happening. The format that the Liga MX Femenil kind of goes, 2 groups. There is a team that is off that has that's come kind of like a bye week, right? 2 of them, right?
Yeah, 2 of them.
2 of them, and it's something that we're seeing that it's definitely taken off, and hopefully we'll be talking more about it when there's definitely news.
Yeah, they switched some of the rules that it's now a U23 league now, and it's a U24. Fortunately, because otherwise they would have cut so many players from one season to the next. You can have up to 4 senior players per team, and you can actually have all 4 of them on a game, but only 2 on the field at the same time. So that's new. We also have Lobos and Puebla coming in, so now it's actually 18 teams, 2 groups. So that means 2 teams 1 team per group gets the bye week. I actually think that's going to be the biggest challenge for the league is this season, because it was all new a year ago and still like 6 months ago. So I think now having to fight not being like a novelty, that's going to be a real challenge for the league. You have Tigres coming in as the champion. They hired 2 players from one from Levante, which is Greta Espinosa, Mexican national team player, and Cristina Ferral coming in from Olympique Marseille. So Tigres is going to be pretty much the team to keep an eye on. And hopefully it'll be just a little better than last semester. That's the whole point of this.
And Adriana, when still no talk about any of the Mexican dual nationalists here in the U.S. for the league.
We were all expecting one of the rule changes to be that. I haven't heard someone officially say why they didn't change that, because they did realize that they had to change some of the rules with the age restrictions. But the fact that they can't bring in Mexican Americans still is something that we haven't found out why would they do that, because it just prevented so many players from being there and so many national team players also to be in the league as well.
One of the worries was that everyone would go to the U.S. and try to pick players from there and not give the young women that are coming in Mexico. And from what I hear, it's maybe a 3-year kind of start out to make sure to start getting a league and then getting those players from the United States, which I don't know if it's right or wrong, but that's what kind of hear.
Yeah, they're thinking about taking away the age restriction completely in 3 years. So it will be U24 this year, U25, U26, and after that they're just going to take it away completely and hopefully have a stable league by then. But yeah, still, I think the Mexican-American restriction was just not the way to go. I think it prevented lots of players to actually play here. They live here. Some of them just have dual nationality. So and some of them are national team players. So that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's the thing that we're seeing. All right. I know we only have maybe another 10 minutes to go. Liga MX. What I tweeted out, what are you most excited for? And I guess, this is where we're talking about. People are saying this is Cruz Azul's year. I mean, Le Blue did it.
We've like last year, the year before that, and the year
we've yet to see what they do. But there is something intriguing about Cruz Azul, or just at the Pelaez era now with Cruz Azul. Like even before the World Cup started, he started to help making some fascinating signings for Cruz Azul. So
doesn't it seem like the smartest team like in the entire the off season? It has they actually had this presentation, which I've never seen in my entire life, like not covering the Liga MX or before that. They actually had Caixinha come in and give like a presentation to the press and saying, this is our squad, and he had 2 names per position. So he would say, okay, in case this guy is not available, we have this other guy just competing for the position, and we're doing this. And then on the off season, we're going to go practice over here, and we have all these games. They're switching the field, the pitch in Cruz Azul's home camp, so that it will be the same as Estadio Azteca, which is actually changing the pitch right now. There was images from Estadio Azteca saying this is our new grass type. So it just seems Cruz Azul was just so smart about all the changes they made in the offseason with Pelaez and Caixinha And yeah, like even like non-Cruz Azul fans are getting really excited about
Yeah.
what the team can do.
I mean,
So
It is Cruz Azul though.
they know,
it
but
is
they
Cruz Azul. Though,
I mean, it
yeah.
is Cruz Azul, but they did their homework early. And just like with some of the like Livnovsky, like Pablo Aguilar, Caraglio.
Yeah, like all
and
the
just,
like the youth players, they knew they didn't have any like really young players, and they just went off and bought really interesting players. To be honest,
Yeah.
Roberto Alvarado, he's staying on Cruz Azul. He was going to be one of the players to go to the Central American Games. He'll stay with Cruz Azul because it's a non-FIFA competition, so they weren't obligated to let him go. So it just seems like they did things really like they thought about it through so well.
So let's go by 5 stories of the Liga MX, because we actually had somebody tweet at us to say first time watching Liga MX. In fact, he doesn't even have a team, and wanted to find out. So you're new to Liga MX. What's coming up in the season? What are some stories that we're going to look at? I mean, I can think of.
I think the first one we have to talk about is the youth minutes. I think that's going to be fascinating to see how that youth minutes rule. Whether I mean, I think you could argue.
What's the youth minute rule, Cesar? For those
So if I remember correctly, it is 750 minutes in total for players born after 1997 or after, and then in 2019 that is going to go up to 1,000 minutes for players born in 1998 or after. But I know it's going to sound confusing, but 50% or 500 of those 1,000 minutes can be taken by players who were born in 1997. So basically, it's what they're trying to do is just provide a minimum required minutes for young players. I guess it's a step in the right direction. I don't know if this is really how Liga MX can really provide opportunities for young players, because then what happens to those players who were born in, let's say, 1996. 95, those are, it's not exactly like those guys are now veterans. Those are still young players.
The rule existed before, and then somehow they eliminated it. They were like, oh no, we're doing great. And I remember I was actually at the press conference, and I remember Decio Maria saying, we're actually taking it away because it benefits the young players. And we were like, really? How does that work? So they took it away, and then I'm guessing they're seeing that the entire generation change that we were talking about earlier, it's just not happening. So it's not the best solution, because clubs should actually worry about this themselves, but it's a solution, I guess. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see all these like youth level players coming out and trying to take opportunity at Liga MX.
Number one in the youth. How about no relegation?
Yeah, that's confusing though. I don't know what's going on.
That's tricky though, because they'll be fined. They won't like be relegated, but they will be fined. So you're saying Liga MX. I think it might be beneficial sometimes, because it means that coaches might have a longer time to work with their teams and not have to worry about this and then be fired. It's giving a little more continuity to some of the coaches, I think. But still, it might mean that some other teams might be kind of relaxed because they don't have this pressure anymore. Yeah, they have a financial pressure maybe, but other than that, they know they're not risking anything like sport-wise. So I don't know. It's a tricky one.
It still seems unclear too, because there isn't something that's like officially official that they're going to officially stop relegation, right? Like it could still potentially come back.
It's a fine, but if you don't pay it, then you will be like relegated. But then we'll have like a 17-team league. So as we were talking about this last time, we can actually have less teams, except not more.
Yeah, because remember, there are only 9 teams from the second division which are eligible for promotion. Say Veracruz is at the very bottom of the league table by the time next summer rolls around. They don't pay the fine, and then let's say that one of the 9 ineligible teams from the Ascenso then get promoted. Like I said, would we have 17 teams? Like in the first?
Yeah, like in theory that would happen. That's what they said. They were willing to take that risk, and we were like, really? But then the team that wins in the second division could kind of sell that position, so it would actually be auctioned off.
Yeah.
So then that way, there's still a slight possibility that one of the second division teams pays the money, even though they didn't win the championship. They could actually make it to Liga MX in case they win the auction.
Well, if you didn't understand anything what just happened, don't worry. It's.
I think
It's
what,
okay,
Liga
guys.
MX being
It's
Liga
okay,
MX.
guys. Don't worry.
what you need to know is that, like, I mean, maybe more so, like, instead of talking about promotion relegation, the conversation should be Liga MX is trying to figure out a way to build up to 20 teams, and I have no idea how they're going to try to do that. I have no idea. Like, more so promotion relegation, it's more so they're trying to build up to 20 teams, and I don't know how they're going to do it.
And they could miss.
They could miss. Like, yeah.
Thank you, Cesar, for the too long didn't listen. I think somebody's checking out and like, okay. Story number 3. Pizarro, Rayados. Interesting to see how that, and obviously impacting what is Chivas gonna do this season.
We are all praying. We have a prayer every Sunday night. We all invite you to join us and hold hands.
On how Pizarro's gonna do in Rayados?
No, Chivas.
Obviously, Chivas and what's coming in it.
Just fine wherever he goes.
Oh, Cardoso. Big. I mean, if we talk about obviously those move Tigres to see what continues on happening in their signings, but more importantly, also Club America with some serious injuries.
Yes.
Yeah, we have Menes is out for the entire season. By the way, his contract ends in December, so I have no idea what's going to happen with him. Cecilio Dominguez had a jaw fracture, and I think he's out for 3 to 4 weeks. And you have Diego Lainez away with the Mexican national team that's playing Centroamericanos. So, yeah, let's see how Piojo does with that.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. But I still feel like with the amount of depth that they have in that roster, I still feel like they'll make something happen. I think
they won't do badly. No. They'll do okay. Maybe just not as well as they'd like to, maybe.
And the question that I've been getting a lot on Twitter is, will León finally make the playoffs and do something about it? I mean,
León's defense is abysmal. Like, I feel like that's something that hasn't really been talked about enough. It's like, is during the regular season, like in 2018 last season, it was, I think they allowed 33 goals, if I remember correctly.
That's normally how León is.
So I think the big question for León is whether
Yarbrough's going to stay or not.
Well, actually, it's Cota. Well, it's Cota. Yeah. Whether Cota can really halt that number of goals. And there was another central defender. They said, was it William something? There's a center back that they signed. I can't believe I forgot his name. So it's whether he and Cota can really stop that amount of goals. Because I mean, everyone's like, "Oh, Landon's gone. What's gonna happen?" Blah, blah. I was like, "No, dude, who cares about Landon being gone?" I know it's like an interesting kind of like, I don't know, distraction. But the big worry is León's defense, because it's awful. It's really awful.
I'm actually worried that ever since Javier Torrente left with his good luck shirt, went terribly well. So yeah, we have to get that jersey. That shirt back.
Cesar, what can you tell about Xolos?
Honestly, it's not going to be really exciting. The coach, he plays a really pragmatic and really kind of like conservative style play, especially in away games. So I wouldn't be, and they gave away some key players. I mean, Damian Musto is gone. You see Pablo Aguilar is now gone. So Bo especially. So if you're looking for an exciting team to follow, I mean, it's probably not Tijuana this season. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up sneaking in to the top 8, maybe like in a 7th, 8th, or 9th. Maybe up 7th or 8th, because you can't sneak in the top 8, 9th. I wouldn't be surprised if they sneak into the top 8, like one of those last positions, because they do tend to be pretty good defensively, and I think that's what the manager Coca does. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a very unexciting season for them.
I actually regret that for Xolos. They were such an attractive team when they first made it to the Liga MX. They were always offensive and had the crowd cheering for them. It was just like a really good place to see soccer. And then somehow it's
offensive with Mohamed.
Yeah,
but that's.
But then they also had like these issues where they weren't paying all the players, and that was like, are you kidding me? You're I mean, you're the company that actually like sustains the entire club is a betting company. How could you have financial problems? How is that even possible?
For those who haven't gone down to Estado Caliente, there is literally like a dog racing track and like casino next door to the stadium. That's like something that's owned by like the Hank Ron family.
Owner.
Yeah, the same owner, the Caliente, whatever sports. But yeah, no, I'm confused by that too. It's like, how do they not pay their players? Anywho, a lot of off the field stuff might be interesting. Maybe they might end up being exciting, but honestly, I think Xolos will be pretty bored this season.
Bummer.
Lots and lots. Obviously, there's Pumas, Necaxa. You didn't even talk about the Balón de Oro, and we kind of shared
Well,
it.
we've got all these like new and young coaches as well. I think that might be kind of exciting. You've
And
got
that's
Leaño
good.
at Necaxa. You've got Puente back at Querétaro. Palencia getting a new opportunity with Lobos Buap. So I'm actually excited when they kind of mix it up with the coaches. I don't like seeing like Romano back and Boy
Oh,
and
yeah.
I like giving opportunities to coaches, and maybe with the whole thing with the relegation, seeing as these are teams that are usually in that position, maybe they'll have a better chance of making something good with those teams.
Yeah, I'm excited by Nick Cox's manager because he's only 31 years old, 31-year-old like Mexican manager. So that'll be kind of cool to see what he does. And it's kind of crazy that this is his fourth team that he's taken charge of, and he's only 31. But yeah, it'll be fascinating to see what he does with Nick Coxa. I mean, they did get the Super Copa MX title, which you got to take with a grain of salt. Got to take that with a grain of salt, but he was able to lead his team to do that. So.
All right, guys, lots and lots of things are coming out of a Liga MX, and we'll continue to give you all those updates. And obviously, there's plenty more to talk about. If you are thinking there after World Cup, what to look forward to in Mexican soccer, obviously, we said a couple of stories here with Liga MX, Liga MX Femenil. We also didn't get a chance to talk about Mexicans abroad. Will we see more news in the next few weeks about others joining? I think we will, especially in La Liga. And we'll see what's happening there. Will Chucky go to a new team? Hector Herrera, not sure. I think he was in Porto, but no news actually come out of there. Layu now joining. And
Diego Reyes,
signing.
no show.
Yeah.
He left Porto. We're not sure where he's going.
What's up, Diego Reyes? Also Moreno, and then there's definitely some news that are going to come out in that sense. The whole storyline with Juan Carlos Osorio: does he stay or does he go? What comes in? New coaches, if it is Almeida, who it is, have that support. We got obviously some contracts that 2 more games in the United States, once against the U.S., which even though it might be, I think it's a FIFA date too, so.
Yeah, it's on September 11th, actually.
Yeah, September 11th, and also against Uruguay there in.
I think that's 7th or 8th. It's like a couple days before. Yep.
Then Chivas in the Club World Cup.
Oh, we even have this. That's December. We even have this. Let's see how they do in the Apertura first. Let's see how they do in the first 10 games.
Without Ronaldo at the Club World Cup, everything should be good. Chivas wins it. I mean, it was the only. There's a lot. Anyways, there's a lot if you're new to the Mexican soccer show. If you're not, Mexican soccer, there is definitely a lot that we're going to keep going forward. As far as the Mexican soccer show goes, be on the lookout for a cool quinela that we're going to be doing, our prediction contest here in Mexican soccer, and there's going to be a cool NAT edition that you'll get to also participate and help to see if you can. I think we're going to might be doing maybe like a poll style where there's the fans of the Mexican soccer show that are going to be voting on the teams, and who knows, maybe it's you guys are better than all of us. Adriana will continue to help us out here. She's now a regular here with the Mexican Soccer Show. Cesar and myself, you've known for quite a while. Mr. Tom Marshall, who is after the World Cup, took some time to go to England. The whole "It's Coming Home," it was actually Tom Marshall coming home.
It was just Tom going home.
So he's going home. He's having a lot of fun. We got a chance to talk to him. If you know Miss Amalia Lopez, Amy Lopez, who does a lot of the work here with the Mexican Soccer Show, got a chance to go to the World Cup there for the Next Nation and doing amazing things. We also have some guests like the Colorful Kit that I know that they're starting a podcast there with the FMF State of Mind and all the other guys, the Cantina MX podcast. If you would have told me 4 years ago there was 5 podcasts on Liga MX in English, I would have been like, you're crazy. No one cares. But as you know, there is many of us that like our news in English, even though we speak Spanish at home or spoke Spanish to our parents, but we continue to have it. So we'll continue to be here. There's going to be, the Mexican Soccer Show, and we do have some stuff coming up with Patreon and deciding all of that. So all of your Patreon subscribers, we did send a great little note to all of you guys. Please respond if you're listening to us. We'd love to hear your feedback on what we keep doing. But to sum all things up, Mexican soccer keeps on going. The hope for the 5th game in 4.5 years is still there.
Oh my God.
Gold Cup next year, the League of Nations, no Copa America. There's plenty of Mexican soccer show to keep your football heart filled. But to all of you, thank you, especially all of you guys on the chats. Take it easy. We do have moderators there. Don't go crazy with all the profanities, guys. Come on. I'm trying to read here. I'm like, that is. And then obviously we're gonna continue to do what we're doing. Mr. Cesar, Adriana, muchísimas gracias. We went a little bit over time, but it's gonna be a fun season. Let's look ahead, and we have a great World
Russia,
Cup.
don't go.
Let's see how Lobos Swap do.
Yes. Oh, really quick. Wait, this is fun. We might not get it right. Who knows? Who wins Liga MX for you guys?
Monterrey.
Monterrey, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go with actually.
Okay, the underdog. Let's guess the underdog. That's a little more complicated.
Tigres.
All right.
I'll go
Atlas.
Not an underdog.
Okay, all right.
I'd like get it.
Atlas, Chivas. I'm talking about
Oh my
like
God,
the
we're
bad
an underdog?
teams. No. Like who's gonna actually? I don't know. Never mind. That's not a good. All right, Monterrey. So Monterrey for both of you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dark horse will be. I think Pachuca can still do something.
Nobody's even talking about Santos.
No,
That's
no,
it?
No.
It's over
I think
for Santos.
I think
They won.
I
That's
think
it.
they're gonna be worse.
By the
They're
way, Janini just signed with an Arab team or something. In case, just
And they're-
keep you
they're
guys
de-
updated with that. So
and Araujo's
Eduardo
gone.
Red is coming back from Rangers.
Oh yeah, Laureleta's coming back. There's our Mexican forward we're looking for.
we've got another Lalo though who is thriving in the 2-0 tournament. Anywho, sorry guys, I'm keeping us.
All right, guys, have a wonderful night. Continue here at Mexican Soccer Show every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Hasta la próxima, and thanks a lot for all your retweets and likes and everything that you do. Nos vemos.
Later.